Hi everyone, I am just waiting for Luke to come on. We're trying to figure out technology, basically. So I've just invited him. If he can see if he comes on soon. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Think could be working. Oh,
Oh, hey, we got it.
We figured it out. Wait.
Oh, nice. What? How are you?
I'm good. And you?
Yeah, good, thank you. Thank you for everyone for being patient. I'm glad that we're live.
Yeah, this is our first time doing it with not being together and doing
Yeah.
it in
Well,
three.
hey, we know it works now. That's the main
Yeah,
thing.
we can do it for next time now. Trial and error.
Good. So hi everyone. Thank you for your patience. Only like 4 minutes late. That's pretty good going, I'd say. So welcome to Hayley. Hi, Hayley.
Hi.
So Hayley's going to talk us through her journey with self-love this evening, and I've got a few questions lined up for her because I really want to grill on it. It's a topic I'm very passionate about, and it's a topic that I also have an interesting perspective on, and I'm just curious to see what your perspective is in your journey, and maybe between us we could, really come up with something that's going to hopefully resonate for people. That's my plan. That's my hope. So fingers crossed.
And just hopefully help some people and in sharing the journeys and what tips and things that help us the most. I know everyone is different, but yeah, I'm just hoping that people will resonate and take on board some things to help them in their everyday lives and in the future.
Exactly why we do what we do, right? Okay, so Hayley, let's just let you kick off here about your journey, and then we'll go from there.
Okay, cool. How long we got? I'll try and keep it brief. But yeah, so the journey of self-love, I think, can be complex because, like, people say you just need to love yourself more, right? And I just was like, how the fuck can you just love yourself more? Can someone just give me this blueprint of some kind? Because you can sit there and say to yourself 1,000 times a day, looking in the mirror, I love myself, I love myself. But if you don't believe it, then it's not going to work. And I went from someone who really quite despised myself, if I'm honest. And I think we can be programmed to think this way as well. And I grew up with, luckily without phones, but with billboards and magazines of all these beautiful photoshopped, airbrushed women that just kind of program me to think I'll never be good enough. I need to be skinnier, I need to be prettier to be happy. And it was always something searching outside of myself. And I was, got to 18, almost 18 stone. I was eating all my feelings because I just didn't know how to cope with all my emotions. And it was just this vicious cycle basically. And for going from someone who really hated themselves to loving, it can be a difficult process. So first it had to start with acceptance of where I was at and becoming more mindful of how I was talking to myself and trying new things, being open to new processes, like looking in the mirror and really looking at yourself. I mean, first of all, you look at yourself and all you see is, oh yeah, that and there's a spot there, and oh god, the wrinkles, and you're like, no, that's not what I'm meant to be doing. And bringing it back to really seeing you as a soul and loving what's underneath as well as externally. And I find when I started to accept myself more and the shadows more and the parts of myself that I didn't like, I started everything started to happen more naturally. Like the beauty from within shines without on the outside as well.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of things.
Oh, Hayley, we've lost you.
How about now?
You've frozen. There, you're back. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So like things like being mindful around not comparing myself to others anymore, and just being mindful of when I'm doing that, when I'm being that own worst inner critic in my head, and seeing them as outside of me. So I call my little inner critic Patricia, and I'm like, oh, hi Patricia, thank you for being here. And I'm more compassionate with myself now, instead of being like, oh, I'm beating myself up again, this like the hamster wheel that goes round. Just acknowledging the thought, and instead of being judgmental around it, being more curious with the thought and being like, oh, okay, what's this here to teach me? Thank you for showing up, Patricia. It's usually around your ego and the unconscious mind that's trying to keep you safe, but it's just trying to, it wants to keep you small. So the unconscious mind just wants to keep you small in your comfort zone and not thriving. So that would be, you know, tube feed up the nose, Netflix on all day, Uber Eats to the door, where you're not even leaving the house, you know. So anything other than that, the unconscious mind thinks, I'm going to die, so I need to protect you. I need to stop you from thinking, you know, don't play big, just be small. And just being mindful of that. And I find it's the time that I struggle the most is when I'm more emotionally attached to the thoughts, and that they've got an emotional charge towards them. So when I can sit back and become the observer, raise my awareness to it, I can be more curious and be like, oh, okay, I see you, I acknowledge you, thank you for being there and trying to protect me, but we're not going to do it this way anymore. Patricia, you can walk out the door. um, and it's a process, you know, it takes time. It's this healing self-love journey is, you know, a journey, like it says, and so it's not going to happen overnight. And it's something.
The other thing, sorry to interrupt, you're right, it's a journey, it's not going to happen overnight, right? The other thing that I think is really important to mention is that it's not a constant, like, uphill trajectory either. Like, there are going to be days when you slip back, or moments in your life where you slip back. And I think that I want to just go back to one of the first things that you said, which was acceptance.
Mm,
Because that is the biggest part. Because generally speaking, when you don't love yourself, it's because you don't accept yourself for who you are. You want to be something else. You want to be something different. You want to be how you should be,
yeah,
right? So I think acceptance is such a big piece wherever you are on that trajectory. You know, it's not just something that, like you say, you get to the top of the hill and ta-da, I love myself.
yeah,
It's a constant working process. So can you just talk a little bit more about what acceptance looked like for you?
yeah. So when the thoughts arise and when the shadows come up, it's really about learning how to sit with it all. And that for me is probably what been one of the hardest parts of this journey, is sitting with those uncomfortable feelings and not suppressing and numbing
Mhm.
and brushing it all under the rug. And it's just becoming really radically honest with ourselves, and as well as where we're playing a part in our own suffering as well. So accepting where we're causing our own damage and self-sabotaging as well. And yeah, just using that word accepting, because it can come with so much judgment, guilt and shame. And it's just like, accept and forgive all of that, and knowing that it's all okay, and reminding myself that I'm always exactly where I'm supposed to be. And that I find is really powerful. And at times I've been at the lowest of the lows and been like, oh, stuff all these stupid cliche sayings, and you're really in the thick of it, and you can say all these things until you're blue in the face, and nothing seems to work in that time. But it really is accepting the fact that everything is temporary. The way you feel is always temporary, and things will get better and then they will get worse again. And it is this up and down, and it's just accepting that it is as it is, rather than my perception of how it should be. and how I think it should look, and that need for control, and just allowing it to be as it is rather than me placing the labels on it, because it's by me placing all the labels on it that's actually causing all the suffering. So yeah.
Thank you for answering that. Um, I've got some views on self-love, and I'm interested to hear what you think.
Yeah.
So I've done the journey too, and well, still am
Yeah.
every day. But I think that in the spiritual world, we have a habit of banging on about, oh, you must kind of meditate yourself to self-love. You must, it's an inside job. You must do it all by yourself.
Mm.
It's only through, and I've been guilty of that. It's only through me working with human design as an example that I've realized that actually we all achieve self-love in a really different way. I think acceptance is absolutely universal. But, you know, for some people, helping somebody out and feeling that gratification, whether they get thanks or not, is irrelevant really, but that will help them grow their self-worth.
Mm.
Or, you know, being how they consider to be a good person in the world will help them to grow their self-worth. So I don't always think that it's an inside job. I think that there's a combination of factors that help us move into that place of self-love. I had one particular client that I worked with, and she kind of locked herself away in this beautiful cabin that she has at her house, and she was spending every day meditating and doing the work and the tapping and everything else, and
Yeah.
nothing working, Luke. And then I looked deeply into her human design, and actually she gets her self-worth from helping other people. So I just think that we're all really different on that. So what did it look like for you? You know, when you think about more practically, what were the things that you did that made it work for you?
I think for me as well, I know they always say you shouldn't need external validation for it, but obviously everyone loves to be told that they're loved and they're lovable. So I think that really does help, especially because I do struggle with the self-belief and the self-worth, like I think a lot of people do.
Mm-hmm.
So when we do get that, it's lovely, and obviously it would be even more amazing if you didn't actually need that, and it would just be like a cherry on top of the cake to be like, oh, that's really lovely, I don't need that external validation, but it is nice. And sometimes when I get it, I'm like, oh my god, I am a good person, I am lovable, you know. And I just needed that bit of a reminder.
Yeah.
That just kind of gives me that kick up the arse to, yeah, just remind me that everyone is lovable and everyone's worth loving. But the tools I think that have helped me the most is having a like-minded community around you, ones that accept you for who you are, developing those healthy boundaries, and that again, it comes with when you've raised up your self-worth and you are loving yourself more. Because when I wasn't loving myself, I was, you know, eating crap and had bad habits and addictions. So it's about feeding your body, not just your body, but feeding your, you know, what you're feeding your mind as well, and your soul.
Mm-hmm.
Can't do that unless we're in a good place of self-love.
Yeah.
Then it's questioning, if I'm not doing those things, what needs to be worked on, and what do I need to do right now. Dance helps me a lot, singing, being with myself and having those nice relaxing baths. Meditation does help me a lot, and breath work has really helped me a lot as well. And sitting with my inner child's probably the number one for me, because I've just found that really powerful. Because usually when I'm lacking in something, I can go back and visualize my inner child, and it's really what she needs to hear. And then I get to experience those benefits as well from going back and giving her what it is. You're safe, you're loved. If it gets to midnight sometimes, and I'm like, oh, I'm snackish, like not every night or not all the time, I just want some chocolate. And then I'm like, what's my inner child craving right now? What does she need right now? Rather than going binging all this stuff that I know is not good for me. I know I'm going to sit in the shame of it. I'm going to wake up the next day and I'm going to feel like shit, and I'm like, don't want to do that to myself. If I do it, and I've got to forgive myself for it, but if I just sit with those feelings that are coming up that I'm wanting to eat chocolate and numb with, and then I just sit with her for a little bit, usually that really, really helps me.
That's a really interesting practice. I like that. I mean, sit on the sofa in the evening, watch Netflix and binge eat kind of
Yeah.
person. So it's a good perspective to say what 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 do I actually need? Like what is, you know, my inner child craving? Where does this come from? What is the source of this?
Mm,
I think that's really
mm,
interesting.
mm.
Um,
Any kind of addiction or bad habit that we're picking,
yeah.
that I get
So
very
sorry,
good as.
Karen.
Sorry, I don't mean to. I'm like, I can't get this one out there as well. This popped into my head. The staring in your own eyes in the mirror is quite a good, powerful one, um, to cultivate more self-acceptance and self-love as well, and not just kind of just looking, but really gazing and really seeing yourself for who you are. And I think it can be uncomfortable for some people and bring up a lot of emotions in some people, but it's a really powerful process to just look at yourself and tell yourself, like, you are lovable, you are loved, and I love you, and you are enough. And that can, even just like that in itself, like, can be so uncomfortable at first,
Mm.
and so it feels so silly, but it works. It really, really works.
I have to say, I love the mirror.
Yeah.
I can look in the mirror all day long, just staring at myself or making funny faces or whatever.
I
And
love.
it's not a vanity thing because honestly, look, I mean, I don't care what I look like, but
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, but there's a real attraction to that. Or even if I film something or record it, I also, and I used to deeply fear this, but now I love watching it back and I love watching myself. And it is, again, not an egotistical thing. It just comes from this place of, oh, look at me.
Yeah.
You know,
That's something I'm still working on. I think I still get a bit cringy sometimes.
I
I,
quite like the cringe moments. I kind of find them hilarious. You know, when I see myself do something, I can't. I posted a video on here recently with Rahul and Christine, and at the end, I completely did something super cringy, and I couldn't get my words out, and I went, "Oh, live long and prosper." And I was like, "Why did I even say that?" And I loved it, and then I just posted that anyway. I was like, most people would edit it, and I was like, I'll just keep it.
and I love that because, like, we're not meant to be perfect, and I think I definitely have that perfectionist within me and that controlling side, or that need to control things. And it's like, actually, no, we're not perfect. No one's perfect. And when you post things with mistakes, we're actually giving other people permission to make mistakes, which is
Yeah,
never right. So I
to
think,
be human.
Aaron, yeah, permission to be human, authentic, and just real.
Yeah. I think I quite often refer to myself as a recovering perfectionist.
I like that.
Yeah.
I,
It is helpful because, I, you know, have been known to be a bit anal. So I'm working on it, and I think that's all part of that acceptance journey, isn't it? Accepting when things aren't perfect, including ourselves.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
So what are I mean, you've kind of talked through this a little bit already, but like, if I'd said to you top 3 tips for someone who wanted to work on their self-love, what would you say?
Okay. Definitely the mirror work would be one of my top tips. Practicing sitting with the darkness and the shadows and the inner critic and all the bits of yourself that you don't like.
Hmm.
uh, Practice active compassion with those parts of yourself, and in turn that will raise your awareness to that little voice, the monkey mind that goes off when we're telling ourselves stories, um, to be able to spot it and then to break that pattern. um, yeah, just to be more mindful of those thoughts, because they're always going to be there. I think we can always be our own worst enemy, but once we can see it, that means we have a choice to change it. So just practice raising the awareness. So meditation or breath work would be my next tip, just because that is a place where you can be with yourself in
Hmm.
illness, and practice being patient with yourself in all that comes up. And when feelings come up, just saying to yourself, I give myself permission to feel this. It's safe to feel this. I'm safe, I'm worthy, I'm enough, whatever it is that you want to say that helps you to feel okay. So then, yeah, with just the meditation and breath work, that's just something that will help to calm the nervous system as well, and to really get you back into the body. And yeah, that's just self-loving all round, really, just to keep doing that for yourself, to keep calming your nervous system and telling it it's safe.
Good. Can I give you my 3
Yeah,
tips?
please.
First one, turn the news off.
Oh yeah. Did you start these before we came in? Because you just put them on me, and I had to think of them like.
No, I literally wrote it down as you were talking. You probably saw me scrolling.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, so I think absolutely turning the news off, getting rid of any kind of news feed on your social media, unfriending people that are sharing shit like that, or fake news or everything else, you know. So that's the one thing, like a media cleanse, I think. First tip. Second tip for me, and you said this already, hang out with like-minded people.
Yeah.
Massive help. Hugely. So if you're looking for like-minded people, feel free to come and hang out with us.
People who accept you for who you are, unconditional about expectations.
Yeah. And then the other one I wrote down, which we've talked about as well, is being comfortable with being a recovering perfectionist.
Nice one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah. I just thought I'd chip in as you were talking, and I was like, "Oh, I've got some thoughts on that." So,
that's what we want. All the tips.
So, like, what would be you may have already touched on this, but what's like your number one struggle that you have when you're not in your good place?
Yeah, it would be the resistance of getting to that place of actually allowing myself to feel it, even though consciously, and I've been told 1,000 times, and I know, feel it to heal it, sit with it, soften into it, and all that stuff. When it gets tough, it just, so much resistance can come up, and I will struggle with a lot of the self-doubts, fear of judgment, fear of failure, and then fear of shining too bright. So fear of success as well, of making other people uncomfortable. So you kind of dim yourself and play small to fit in, even though, like, I don't want to fit in, I don't want to be normal, I want to shine bright. But it's that people pleaser inside of me that's like, oh, I don't want to make you feel uncomfortable. So yeah, they're probably the biggest struggles for me, I would say, and just really believing in myself, even though I've proved to myself I can do things, and anyone can do anything they put their mind to. I think it's that getting over that initial fear, which is your worst fears of putting yourself out there. Even coming on for this live and stuff, like it's a scary thing, because it's not something you do every day, and you're putting yourself out there. But yeah, it's good to feel the fear and do it anyway. And I could hear my little voice being like, just don't do it, just cancel it. And I'm like, no, I can see you, but I'm doing it anyway, and I'm gonna just sit with this and just not think about it too much, and just get on with it. Just do it. Just do it. He says that's a great slogan. Yeah. Seriously.
Literally before coming on this call, I was texting my husband saying, like, what the F am I doing with my life? Why am I, like, I did a yoga class this evening, but I only had 2 people, and my regular people, like 5 of them have left. And I'm like, why am I doing this? People obviously, and then this whole thing comes in, this talk in my head. People don't like what I do. I'm not very good at running a business. Like, a couple of people were upset about the cancellation policy, and then I'm like, oh, I need to people please them, and then all of these conversations I'm having, and I'm like beating myself up, saying I'm not worthy, I'm not valid, I shouldn't be doing this. It keeps failing for a reason, and all of these conversations I've been literally having with my husband before coming on this call. So, it's not this constant upward trajectory, and even when people think you've got your shit together, most people still don't have their shit together. And I think that the openness of that, and this ability to not think that you need to be perfect all the time, or not think that you need to show up in a certain
Yeah.
way, and actually that being raw is okay,
Yeah.
and to have doubts and all of those things, that's all like the human experience, right?
Absolutely. Just because we have these thoughts doesn't mean it's true. I think that's where we do the most damage, when we buy into our thoughts, when we're not good enough, and then we're actually believing that. Because you certainly are, and I know everyone believes in what we do. And I know that when you were saying that, all I wanted to do was be like, you are good enough, Luke. And then I'm like, well, but that's me as
Yeah.
well. And if he doesn't believe that, I can say it how many times, and if he's not believing it, then it doesn't mean anything, right?
I guess the point is that we all feel like that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and as you say, sometimes as much as people tell you, you're not going to believe it until you believe it.
Yeah.
So um, let's just do a little like mock up here. If a client comes to you, and let's pretend we'll just use my scenario as an example, they don't feel worthy in what they're doing in the world, like what can a client expect from you? How would you approach that with them? What, what would be your process to work with a client?
Well, we'd sit down and have a chat first, and I'd take any notes that I felt were good to work on, and I'd kind of list out any like negative limiting beliefs that I'm hearing, and any goals that they're wanting to work on, where they kind of want to be, what they think it's going to bring them, and what they possibly expect of me as a therapist, and just give them, just hold space for them, to just allow them to talk, because often people want to come in and fix things, but I think actually a lot of people just want to be heard. So just being silent and just letting someone talk, and let it all come out, and remind them that they're safe to be vulnerable, and everything's confidential. And then usually I'll get into the process side of things. So we'll switch from going on the only using our 5% conscious minds, and we'll go into a bit of a deeper process. If these processes resonated with them, if they wanted to just chat, that's fine. If they just wanted to come in and not chat at all, then that's fine as well. I offer those kind of sessions of like an hour Reiki or hypnotherapy. But usually if someone just came to me and they were like, I'm open for whatever this is going to bring, which is like the best kind of client, if they're coming in open, then yeah, usually after we've had a bit of a talk, gotten to know each other, and we're feeling comfortable and safe, we jump on the massage couch, and we do a bit of a process where I help them to feel safe in their bodies, calm the nervous system, start to feel into if they're holding on to any trauma or tension in their body, and usually do this through things like breath work, which is like the beginning part of it. First, we've got to be safe in the body before we do the breath work, because we're releasing a lot of toxins when we do this as well. And I find we can release a lot of trauma in this part, and then we go into like the meditation process. So maybe a hypnotherapy, or yeah, just a meditation. Of sometimes a lot of this is done intuitively as well. So I'm just picking up on what intuitively needs to be done, like a cord cutting or a negative energy release, or a karmic curse release or something. We're getting a bit woo woo here, but it might be an inner child healing or forgiveness, or it might just be something intuitive that comes through, and then usually I'm doing a little bit of Reiki as well, and whatever other things that they may need that come through. You never know, because everyone's different,
Yeah, right.
and it's to who that is. But yeah, light language comes through sometimes as well, and I just, again, I get in my head of like, this client's gonna think I'm mental, but they're like, you've got to do this, you've got to do this, and this is what's going to help, and this is what's going to work the most. So it's just about me getting out the way, and I just basically, every time before the session, I open space and I ask my guides and the client's guides to come through with the client's permission to come through and just use me as a vessel for whatever healing is is needed for their highest and greatest good in that time. And then I just get out the way and let what comes through come through.
Great. I love that. So, all right, kind of, I guess this might be the final question. What's like the big game changing thing that was a light bulb moment for you, like the thing that really made the difference?
So for me, I had this really big game changing moment when I was on one of my practitioner courses, and I was struggling with all my family. This was when I was living in Australia, and I struggled a lot with my family because I believe our soul chooses our family before we reincarnate, and they know how to push that big red button and trigger the hell out of us the most, right? And the triggers are just a mirror, like they're mirroring what we need to see within us. So whatever we like in someone else, it means it's within us. Admire with other people, but whatever we don't like as well, it's also within us. So I find that we can't see that in someone else unless we have it within us. I like the saying, if you've spot it, then you've got it. So you're spotting it in someone else, means it's because we have a reference point within us. So the biggest game changer was when my coach said to me, love unconditionally and release expectations. The only reason there's issues in the family is because of that, because it's mirroring what's within me that needs to be healed. Take responsibility for it. But when you let go of expectations of who you think they should be, or how they should change because it doesn't suit you, because it was always coming from my shame, my guilt, my trauma, why I needed them to change or why I needed to fix them. And the minute that kind of landed for me, and I was like, oh my God, yeah, it's me. It's all me. It comes back to self. I was just able to see them all in such a different light and appreciate all of them, their quirks, their differences, their uniqueness, and everything that just kind of annoyed me. Didn't happen overnight, and obviously you're still going to be triggered and annoyed by things, but I can sit with it more and I can observe it more and bring it all back to myself more, instead of playing a victim, pointing the finger, getting angry, causing arguments that don't need to be there. And just be like, okay, if I just let go of all these expectations right now and just allow them to be who they are. And it was really because I wasn't accepting myself for who I am. So when I start to accept all of me, I can learn to accept others for themselves as well. But just realizing I was placing expectations because of all of my shit, all of my wounds, trauma, guilt, shame. And that was the biggest game changer for me. And that really just impacted my relationships in such a profound way. And it's just, yeah, really helped. They didn't need to change, even though I thought they needed to change. It wasn't them, it was me, you know. And as they say, your inner changes and then your outer world changes. I'm sure there was a better quote than that I was trying to think of, but
Yeah.
something like that.
It's it from, oh, I don't know now either. What's above is below and what's from within is without, or something like
Yeah.
that. You know what I mean?
You look at, I can't even think.
Oh, as above, so below, as within, so without. Is that right? One of those.
So,
Google it.
so many things that I'm just like, oh, they all get jumbled.
Oh.
But yeah, you get the drift.
Cool. Well, thank you so much. This has been a great conversation. You have like 2 minutes now to plug yourself. So, you know, who are you? How do we get hold of you? And of course, because you did this live, so when you post the video, remember to firstly select it not to delete, but also to put in your details so people can contact you.
Okay,
Great.
cool.
So yeah, tell us who you are and what you do.
Yeah, so obviously I'm Hayley. Hi. So I'm a holistic therapist, a transformation coach. I do breath work, energy healing, Reiki, meditations, along with a few other modalities as well, hypnotherapy, things like that. And I see one-to-one clients and help them through their self-healing, transformational journeys. And I also run circles. So I'm going to be doing my next circle at the LV Life Wellbeing Centre on the 26th, I believe it is. Yeah, 26th of November.
Sunday.
Pardon?
Next Sunday evening.
Yeah, next Sunday evening. And then there'll be our New Year's Eve.
Yeah, I was excited about that. We're collabing for a New Year's Eve alternative way to spend it with no booze.
Yeah, for people who don't drink and want to connect with like-minded souls, yeah, get hold of us. And then I'm doing something that I'm really, really, really passionate about, is the ecstatic dance. Because that's just changed my freaking world. Just getting into the power of now, the present moment, when you just let everything go and you forget who you are. You literally forget your name, your title, what matters, all the judgment, everything, when you just come into that flow state, which is a meditation in itself. So I'm just on this journey of just finding the most awesome things that level you up and help you to heal in the kind of quickest ways. Because I've been on the search for a while, and there's been so many things that just, I was like, nah, that didn't work. And that may for some people, but I'm just on the hunt for like the most powerful processes. And for me, coming into that group collective energy, and just getting out the comfort zone as well, and dancing, even if you want to dance with your eyes closed, even if you want to dance shyly and you're not ready to go full out yet. It took me a while when I started going to like drum circles and things. Like at first I'm like, oh, okay, what's this about? And then by the end I'm just like, yeah, fuck it, let it all go. Inhibitions. And it's just one of the most empowering and liberating feelings that I've ever been able to gift myself. And if I can bring a space where people can connect in that containership and just let loose and feel that ecstasy and just thrive, then that is something that I'm really, really looking forward to.
It says Friday the 5th of January.
That is, yeah.
Cool.
Mm.
I can vouch for that. Not that I've done ecstatic dance, but when I did my kids yoga training and we spent 3 solid days just playing, it was the most transformational thing. So yeah, it's kind of similar in that respect of really letting your inhibitions go and just freaking having fun.
Yeah. Hey, like, definitely speaking from experience, like, we take life too seriously sometimes, right?
All the time.
Like, I think my mum said once, me crease up, she was like, life's too serious to be taken serious. I love you, mum, you're brilliant. But yeah, we forget sometimes just to have that bit of fun and be silly, and just, because that's what we want for our friends, right? And our loved ones and our families, to be happy and playful and silly.
Yeah, but why do we not do it for ourselves, right?
I know.
Well, on that note, thank you so much. It was wonderful. As I said, remember to post it with your contact details and make sure it doesn't delete. And then everyone can rewatch this if they want. Let's share. Invite everybody along.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks.
Bye.
Good night.